Vetiver's kind of one of those love it or hate it fragrance notes. You have some people who really enjoy it in all of its different forms, from being more fresh and light to more dark and heavy. Then you have some people who really just aren't a fan of it, and I can see both sides. I personally am a huge fan of Vetiver and I love it, but that hasn't always been the case for me. When I was first starting out and I was first getting into some Vetiver fragrances, I wasn't all too thrilled or impressed by it. It just wasn't really my thing. However, after experimenting with a few different Vetiver fragrances and smelling it in a few different forms, I started to come around to it, to the point now where Vetiver is one of my favorite fragrance notes, and fragrances that utilize Vetiver to a heavy extent are usually generally liked by me more. Take a relatively basic and simple citrus fragrance and it smells alright to me, but if you add a nice Vetiver kind of in the base, it instantly boosts that fragrance up a couple points to the point where I really like it. So I figured, since I like Vetiver so much and since you guys seem to like these weekly fragrance rotation videos, I would go ahead and go through a week of only wearing Vetiver based fragrances, or at least with Vetiver being one of the more prominent notes to my nose. So let me know down below what Vetiver fragrances you've worn for the past week, and also I do appreciate if you guys head over to the community page on my channel. I'm starting a new video series and I need your guys' help and input so I can kind of make it happen. Go check out that post. I'll link it down below as well. Also make sure you subscribe as well so you can be staying in touch for this new video series. I really do appreciate it. Let's go and jump into my week. Day number 1, I went with Carven Vetiver. Kind of an underrated one, right? Not one that you hear about all that often. Really, these Carven fragrances, you don't hear that much talk about, and they're really honestly pretty good fragrances for the money. You can get these on discounters. I will link them down below. That's where I purchased all of these fragrances and where I recommend you guys to do that as well to save some money. That's where I got this one, and this is definitely a Vetiver fragrance, but it's a bit powdery and almost a bit kind of old school smelling. It's like an old school semi-powdery type of Vetiver fragrance, so definitely not going to be one for everyone. And this is going to be one of those fragrances where you really got to be into Vetiver to like it. There's going to be a few in here where you can just kind of like them anyway because it's a pretty wearable Vetiver and they're pretty easy scents. But this one, I will admit, not going to be for the faint of heart. You got to be into Vetiver and you got to be into just different fragrances in general to like this one. Even though it is a Carven fragrance, and a relatively affordable type of scent. It's not a cheapie, but it's also not going to be a niche price. It does have somewhat of a niche smell. So keep that in mind when you're going and potentially purchasing a bottle of this. For you Vetiver lovers out there who like the different dirty-ish type of stuff, give this one a shot. Carven Vetiver, pretty underrated scent. You can see green fragrance color and green bottle. Pretty cool stuff. Moving on to day number 2, we have Terre de Hermes. I went with the Eau de Toilette. Now, this is kind of one of those fragrances where it goes a little bit more in the mass appealing direction. So, if you're not a Vetiver lover, but you can kind of toy with the idea a little bit, this potentially could be something that you'll like, or maybe not. This one's got Vetiver. It's got a prominent orange note. You kind of hear people call this like the dirty orange fragrance. That's kind of how it smells, like a dirty, earthy orange. So maybe in your head you're thinking, oh, that sounds good, or ooh, that sounds awful. That's kind of where this fragrance falls as well. You have some people who really like it, some people who don't, and that's just kind of the nature of Terre de Hermes. I think it's a great scent. I love the orange. I love the Vetiver. It's got an earthy spiciness going on, a very masculine scent, so not for people who are into the more metrosexual, kind of unisex, sweeter fragrances. This has a masculine touch to it. Definitely kind of like an older school, earthy, masculine fragrance, and it smells like something a boss would wear, to put it simply. It's got a kind of a higher end, expensive, mature smell to it. That's what I wore on the second day. A great Vetiver fragrance. They also have Eau Intense Vetiver from their Terre de Hermes line. That one would have been obviously a great choice for this video as well. That one's focusing even more on the Vetiver, but I really was just in the mood for the Eau de Toilette. They have the Parfum, which is just a heavier version of this as well. That one's going to be a bit out there as well. They even have Eau Très Fraîche, a lighter, fresher version, while still utilizing that Vetiver. So that can be kind of an entry level if you want to get into the line. But the Eau de Toilette is still a great one. And like I said, that's why we're on day number 2. Moving on to day number 3, we're warming up here a little bit. We're getting into some heavier scents. This one being Roja Parfum's Vetiver. This is a great scent from Roja Parfums. I have a lot of respect for the house. I love basically all of their fragrances. I mean, I haven't smelled one that I haven't liked, and all of the ones I own, I genuinely love, and Vetiver is one of them. I have the Parfum Cologne version as well, which is in kind of the green bottle. I'm sure you guys have seen it by now. That's a great iteration of Roja Parfums Vetiver. It's going to be a bit more light, kind of airy and fresh. Still does maintain a bit of that depth, and it still has very good performance. But this one, the Parfum version of the scent, this has a lot of depth, and it's really a pretty complex scent when you put your nose on it, and it definitely smells expensive. There's no other way to put it. It smells high-end, and you'll find that with Vetiver as a note, it tends to do that depending on how it's used and the type of vetiver. Because there's a few vetiver fragrances out there, and this being one of them and more to come in this list, that just smell expensive and high-end. And I'm not just talking about niche fragrances like this. I'm going to get to a few others that are designers that smell very expensive and high-end without having to pay the Roja Parfums price tag. Like I said, Vetiver's really got a way of either kind of smelling light and, somewhat woody and kind of laid back, or smelling, really heavy and expensive and mature and masculine. And in this fragrance here, it's an expensive, mature, masculine smelling vetiver. If you like vetiver, Roja Parfums Vetiver is one that should be in your collection. Again, either in this format or in the Parfum Cologne. Parfum Cologne is going to be a bit more affordable and a bit lighter, but still a fantastic scent. Moving on to day number 4, I went with Encre Noir Eau de Toilette. This fragrance, I believe you can get anywhere from $20 to $30 depending on the current pricing out there. With the FragranceNet discount code, the 35% off, you could probably get this for around the $20 to $25 range. I know the testers do come with caps, and you can get a tester of this one and save even more money. This one is a dirty, earthy, and somewhat smoky vetiver that you get from this fragrance. And, for the price that you're paying, you're getting incredible quality and an incredible scent. It's very unique, and it's one that does definitely stand out. And again, this is going to be one where you have to like vetiver, and you have to like fragrances that are a bit different, right? This is not your typical designer fragrance. It's not your typical $20 to $30 fragrance either. You're getting a lot of great quality, a lot of value, and just a very unique scent for that amount that you're paying for the scent. And that's incredible. Really great scents. I don't want to say they're underrated because they do get quite a bit of love, but I do think that they are still slept on by some of you guys out there. If you haven't got into these yet, give them a shot. If you like vetiver, Encre Noir Eau de Toilette. Moving on to day number 5, we have Dior Eau Sauvage Parfum. So remember a minute ago how I was talking about Roja Parfums Vetiver smelling very expensive and high-end, and, well, you don't have to pay that niche price to get the same effect. This is proof of that concept right there. This is an expensive smelling fragrance. Now, yes, it is a Dior. You're still going to be at about the $100 price point for this one, but come on, give me a break here. This is expensive smelling stuff for the price. I mean, you can get this at discounters for around that $100 point for 100 ml, maybe even less than that. They got discount codes, you got deals, you can use Afterpay, split up your payment, all that stuff. For the price of $100, you're getting a very expensive, very high quality smelling scent. You could go with something like this from Dior, or you can go with something like Sauvage from Dior, and tell me which one smells more expensive for about the same price. It's going to be this one. Give this one a shot. It is a bit more expensive, but it's still not the $300+ price tag. It may not be the $30 price tag, but it is worth a shot. Dior Eau Sauvage Parfum, a very high-end, very expensive smelling scent. It's got citron in the top, giving it a nice zesty, citrusy kick, and that vetiver comes into play, giving it a very mature, semi-spicy, elegant type of smell. Definitely going to be a mature fragrance, so not anything young, fun, playful smelling. You gotta like, more mature scents. You gotta like vetiver, and if you like those two things, you're gonna love this guy. Dior Eau Sauvage Parfum, of course, the newest version. This isn't the version with like the black label here. It's the new version that you get at discounters, and it's a great one. Moving on to day number 6, we have Tom Ford Grey Vetiver EDP. This is another example of a fragrance that just smells expensive. I mean, this is an expensive, luxurious smelling fragrance. there's no other way to put it. There's no other way to say it. That's what this stuff smells like. It's a soapy, clean vetiver, and it's a great, great vetiver scent to have. It's not redundant, in my opinion, to own this one and also own the other fragrances. You know, this kind of gets compared to Roja Parfum's vetiver, or the two get compared to each other. You know, a lot of these kind of vetiver fragrances kind of get compared in one way or another. In my opinion, it's not redundant. If you like the note of vetiver, you will see the differences between all of these, and you'll find different situations to wear them for. Out of all the ones in this video, in my opinion, to my nose, Tom Ford Grey Vetiver EDP is going to be the most soapy and clean smelling, which makes it a bit more wearable, a bit more versatile, and really probably a bit more mass appealing than the others, just because it does smell, you know, in a way like a high-end soap, if you would say that, you know, like a high-end bar of soap for a man that you're washing with, kind of mature, clean, fresh, soapy, that sort of thing. It's kind of how this one smells. It's, again, going to be around the $90 to $100 mark for a 100 ml bottle, but coming from Tom Ford, that's a steal of a price. Scoop these up on discounters and you'll have a great signature scent that just smells incredible. And finally, to end the week, on day number 7, I went with Givenchy Gentleman Only. So this one is not going to be like the others. You do have a nice prominent vetiver note in here, but you also get some citruses, some other stuff. This one is a Givenchy, and it's a bit more on the mass appealing side compared to everything else. You know, for the most part, everything stayed relatively wearable, especially Grey Vetiver and, you know, Roja Parfum's Vetiver. Those are two that are really, really wearable. Some of the others, you know, kind of stretch it a little bit. But this one, out of all of them, going to be the most mass appealing, and is going to be the easiest vetiver based fragrance to get into, or at least the easiest fragrance with vetiver as a prominent note to get into, because I don't really think this one is entirely centric on vetiver, but I do get a good amount of it freshened up with the other citruses and lighter stuff. It's kind of a juicy, clean, fresh scent with a nice vetiver woody undertone, and again, it's going to be the easiest one to get into. If you want to start toying around with vetiver in, you know, small amounts where it's very fresh and light and easy to wear, check out Givenchy Gentleman Only. Kind of an underrated fragrance in my opinion, and it's one of my favorites from the line, up there with the EDP and the cologne. They make some great scents at a great prices, about $40 to $50, I believe, for these at discounters. Check it out. This is day number 7, Givenchy Gentleman Only. So guys, there you have it. That was my weekly fragrance rotation of only wearing vetiver fragrances for the past week. Had a lot of fun with this one. It was not hard for me at all because I love vetiver fragrances, and these are all pretty different from each other, where, you know, I really had a fun time doing it. Again, let me know what you wore this past week down below. Don't forget to check out my community post for more information on this new series I have coming up. I think you guys are going to like it. Head over there, leave a comment, and tell me what you think. And like I said throughout the video, if you want to pick any of these fragrances up, I will link them all down below in the description, all to discounters. It's going to be the best prices around that you can get them for. Stay safe, stay healthy. We'll see you tomorrow night with another one. Take care.